Hello, everybody. This is Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy, Part 4, Chapter 17. When he returned to his lonely room, Alexey Alexandrovitch involuntarily recalled, little by little, the conversations that had taken place at the dinner and in the evening. Dolly's words had only succeeded in arousing his vexation. His situation was too difficult to allow him to apply the precepts of the New Testament. Besides, he had already considered this question and decided it in the negative. Of all that had been said that day, the remark of the honest fool to Ravtsuin had made the liveliest impression on his mind. He did bravely, for he challenged his rival and killed him. Evidently this conduct was approved by all, and if they had not said so openly, it was out of pure politeness. But what good would it do to think about it? Had he not resolved what to do? And Alexey Alexandrovitch gave no more thought to anything except the preparations for the departure and his tour of inspection. He took a cup of tea, opened a railway guide, and looked for the departure of trains to arrange for his journey. At this moment the servant brought him 2 despatches. Alexey Alexandrovitch opened them. The first announced the nomination of Stremov to the place for which he had been ambitious. Karenin threw down the telegram and began to walk up and down the room. Quas volt perdere Jupiter demantat, said he, appending quos to all those who had taken part in his nomination. He was less disturbed by the fact that he himself had not been nominated than to see Stremov, that babbler and speechifier, filling the place. Couldn't they understand that they were ruining themselves, that they were destroying their prestige by such a choice? Some more news of the same sort, he thought with bitterness as he opened the second telegram. It was from his wife. Her name, Anna, in blue pencil, stood out before his eyes. I am dying. I beg you to come. I shall die easier if I have your forgiveness. He read these words with scorn and threw the paper on the floor. Some new scheme was his first thought. There's no deceitfulness of which she's not capable. She must be on the eve of her confinement, and there's something amiss. But what can be her object? To compromise me? To prevent the divorce? The despatch says I'm dying. He reread the telegram and suddenly realized its full meaning. If it were true, if the suffering, the approach of death, had caused her to repent sincerely, and if I should call this pretense and refuse to go to her, that would not only be cruel, but foolish, and all would blame me. Pyotr, arrange my carriage. I'm going to Petersburg, he cried to the servant. Karenin decided to go to his wife and be ready to return at once if her illness was a pretense. On the other hand, if she were really repentant and wanted to see him before she died, he would forgive her, and if he reached her too late, he would at least pay his last respects to her. Having made up his mind to do this, he gave it no more thought during the journey. Alexey Alexandrovitch, tired and dusty with his night of traveling, reached Petersburg in the early morning. He crossed the still deserted Nevsky Perspective, looking straight before him through the morning mist, without wishing to think of what was awaiting him at home. He did not wish to think about it, because he couldn't help feeling that his wife's death would put a speedy end to all the difficulties of his situation. The bakers, the night izvoshchiks, the dvorniks, sweeping the sidewalks, the closed shops, all passed like a flash before his eyes. He noticed everything and tried to stifle the hope that he reproached himself for entertaining. When he reached his house, he saw an izvoshchik and a carriage with a coachman asleep standing at the door. On the steps, Alexey Alexandrovitch made another effort to come to a decision, wrested, it seemed to him, from the hidden recess of his brain, and which was something like this. If she's deceived me, I'll be calm and I will go away again. But if she has told the truth, I will do what is proper. The Swiss opened the door. Even before Karenin rang the bell, the Swiss presented a strange appearance, without any necktie, dressed in an old coat and slippers. It was the Baruina. She's very comfortable, as could be expected. Alexey Alexandrovitch turned very pale. He realized how deeply he hoped for her death. Cornet, the servant in morning dress, came quickly down the stairs. Madame is very low, he said. There was a consultation yesterday, and the doctor's here now. Take my things, said Alexey Alexandrovitch, a little comforted to learn that all hope of death was not lost, and he went into the reception room. A uniform overcoat hung on the wall. Alexey Alexandrovitch noticed it and asked, "Who's here?" "Oh, the doctor, the nurse." and Count Vronsky. Karenin went into the drawing room. There was nobody there, but the sound of his steps brought the nurse in a cap with lilac ribbons out of the boudoir. She came to Alexey Alexandrovitch, and taking him by the hand with the familiarity that the approach of death permits, led him into the sleeping room. "Thank the Lord that you've come. She talks of nothing but you, always of you," she said. "Bring some ice quick," said the imperative voice of the doctor from the chamber. In the boudoir, sitting on a low little chair, Alexey Alexandrovitch saw Vronsky weeping, his face covered with his hands. He started at the sound of the doctor's voice, uncovered his face, and found himself in the presence of Karenin. The sight of him disturbed him so much that he sank down in the chair as if he wanted to disappear out of sight. Then, making a great effort, he rose and said, "She is dying. The doctors say there's no hope. I'm in your power. Only allow me to remain here. I'll conform to your wishes in every other respect. When he saw Vronsky in tears, Alexey Alexandrovitch felt the involuntary tenderness that the sufferings of others always caused him. He turned away his head without replying and went to the door. Anna's voice could be heard in the sleeping room, lively, gay, and articulating clearly. Alexey Alexandrovitch went in and approached the bed. Her face was turned towards him. Her cheeks were bright, her eyes brilliant, her little white hands, coming out of the sleeves of her nightdress, were playing with the corners of the coverlet. Not only did she seem fresh and well, but in the happiest frame of mind. She talked fast and loud, accenting her words with precision and nicety. "Alexey, I'm speaking of Alexey Alexandrovitch. Strange, isn't it, and cruel, that both should be named Alexey. Alexey would not have refused me. I should have forgotten. He would have forgiven. Why does he not come? He's good. He himself does not know how good he is. Ach, Bozhe moi, what agony! Give me some water, quick. Ach, but it's no good for her, my little daughter. No, then very well. Give her to the nurse. I'm willing. That will be even better. No, when he comes, she will be hateful in his sight. Take her away." "Anna Arkadyevna, he has come. He is here," said the nurse, trying to draw her attention to Alexey Alexandrovitch. "Ach, what nonsense," continued Anna, without seeing her husband. "Da, give the little one to me. Give her to me. He hasn't come yet. You pretend that he will not forgive me because you do not know him. Nobody knows him. I alone. His eyes. One must know them. Serozha's are very like them. That is why I can no longer look at them. Has Serozha had his dinner? I know he'll be forgotten. Oh, do not forget him. Let Serozha be brought into the corner chamber, and let Mariette sleep with him." Suddenly she was silent. She looked frightened and raised her arms above her head as if to ward off a blow. She recognized her husband. No, she said quickly. "I'm not afraid of him. I'm afraid of dying. Alexey, come here. I'm in a hurry because there's no time to be lost. I have only a few minutes to live. The fever will be upon me again, and I shall know nothing more. Now I'm conscious. I understand everything, and I see everything." Alexey Alexandrovitch's wrinkled face expressed acute suffering. He wanted to speak, but his lower lip trembled so that he would not utter a word, and his emotion hardly allowed him to glance at the dying woman. He took her hand and held it between his own. Every time that he turned his head towards her, he saw her eyes fixed on him with a sweetness and a humility that he had never seen there before. "Wait, you do not know. Wait. She stopped to collect her thoughts. "Yes," she began again. Yes, this is what I want to say. Do not be astonished. I'm always the same, but there is another being within me whom I fear. It is she that loved him, and hated you, and I could not forget what I had once been. Now I am myself entirely, really me and not another. I'm dying. I know that I'm dying. Ask him if I'm not. I feel it now. There are these terrible weights on my hand and feet and on my fingers. My fingers, they're enormous, but all this will be over soon. One thing only is indispensable to me. Forgive me. Forgive me wholly. I am a sinner, but Serozha's nurse told me that there was a holy martyr. What was his name? Who was worse than I? I'll go to Rome. There's a desert there. I shall not trouble anybody there. I will only take Serozha and my little daughter. No, you cannot forgive me. I know very well that's impossible. Go away. You're too perfect." She held him with one of her burning hands and pushed him away to the other. Alexey Alexandrovitch's emotion became so great that he could no longer control himself. He suddenly felt his emotions change to a moral reconciliation which seemed like a new and unknown happiness. He had not believed that the Christian law, which had taken for a guide in life, ordered him to forgive and love his enemies, and yet his soul was filled with love and forgiveness. Kneeling beside the bed, he laid his forehead on her arm, the fever of which burned through the sleeve, and sobbed like a child. He bent towards him, placed her arm around her husband's bald head, and raised her eyes defiantly. There, I knew it would be so. Now farewell, farewell to all. They're coming back again. Why don't they go away? Now take all these furs off me. The doctor laid her back gently on her pillow and drew the covering of her arms. Anna made no resistance, looking all the while straight before her with shining eyes. Remember that I've only asked your pardon. I ask nothing more. Why doesn't he come? She said, suddenly looking towards the door, towards Vronsky. Come here and give him your hand. Vronsky came to the side of the bed, and when he saw Anna, he hid his face in his hands. Uncover your face. Look at him. He's a saint, said she. Uncover your face and look at him, she repeated in an irritated manner. Alexey Alexandrovitch, uncover his face. I want him to see him. Alexey Alexandrovitch took Vronsky's hand and uncovered his face, disfigured by suffering and humiliation. Give him your hand. Forgive him. Alexey Alexandrovitch held out his hand to him without trying to keep back the tears. Thank the Lord, said she. Now everything's right. I will stretch out my feet a little like that. That's better. How ugly those flowers are. They do not look like violets, she said, pointing to the hangings on her room. Bože moi, when will this be over? Give me some morphine, doctor, some morphine. Bože moi, and she tossed about on the bed. The doctor said that in this fever there was not one chance in 100 of her living. She passed the day delirious and unconscious. Towards midnight her pulse became very low. The end was expected every moment. Vronsky went home, but he came back the next morning to learn how she was. Alexey Alexandrovitch came to meet him in the reception room and said to him, Stay here. Perhaps she'll ask for you. Then he took him to his wife's boudoir himself. In the morning, the restlessness, the rapidity of thought and speech returned, but soon unconsciousness intervened again. The third day was much the same. The doctors began to hope. On this day, Alexey Alexandrovitch went to the boudoir where Vronsky was, closed the door, and sat down in front of him. Alexey Alexandrovitch, said Vronsky, feeling that an explanation was to be made. I cannot speak, I cannot think. Have pity on me. Whatever may be your suffering, believe that mine is still more terrible. He was going to rise, but Alexey Alexandrovitch prevented him and said, Pray listen to me. It's unavoidable. I'm forced to explain to you the feelings that guide me and will continue to guide me, that you may avoid making any mistake in regard to me. You know that I had decided on a divorce, and that I had taken preliminary steps to obtain one. I will not deny that at first I was undecided. I was in torment. I confess that I wanted to avenge myself. When I received the telegram and came home, I felt the same desire. I will say more. I hoped that she would die, but... He was silent for a moment, considering whether he would wholly reveal his thoughts. But I've seen her. I've forgiven her absolutely. The happiness I feel at being able to forgive clearly shows me my duty. I offer the other cheek to the smiter. I give my last cloak to him who has robbed me. I only ask one thing of God, that he will not take away from me this joy of forgiving. Tears filled his eyes. Vronsky was amazed at the calm, luminous face. These are my feelings. You may drag me in the dust and make me the laughing-stock of creation, but I will not give up Anna for that, nor will I utter a word of reproach to you, continued Alexey Alexandrovitch. My duty seems clear and plain to me. I must remain with her. I shall remain with her. If she wishes to see you, I shall inform you of it, but I think now it will be better for you to go away. Karenin rose. Sobs choked his voice. Vronsky rose too, and standing with bowed head and humble attitude, looked up at Karenin without saying a word. He was incapable of understanding Alexey Alexandrovitch's feelings, but he felt that such magnanimity was above him, and irreconcilable with his conception